Hello and welcome to episode 6 of my Resurgence Rise and Conquer special podcast series, Meet the Changemakers, Making Difference in the Challenging Times. I have yet another dynamic and multifaceted personality. We will be discussing more on the COVID-19 impact, how to rise in the current situations and which has gripped the world. Of course, that has affected the human lives and employment prospects, opportunities. And it has not only impacted the employment opportunities, but if I say so, it has also affected our mental health and physical well-being. Dr. Bakshi Khurdi, she is a global goodwill ambassador, award-winning educationist, human resources specialist, impactful TEDx speaker. Dr. Ruby has achieved in so many areas of HR, inclusive and transformational leadership, an exceptionally well-organized and agile individual. She is a true, authentic leader. Thank you so much, Dr. Ruby, for joining me today. Let us talk on the COVID-19 impact, challenges, and prospects. So my first question that is coming your way is, I have seen that you have traveled, you're making impact through your work in so many domains, and you have seen the world and traveled far and wide. The technologies are evolving. We are seeing the way we communicate, that is also evolving. So what major changes you believe that this pandemic has brought in our lives?
First of all, thank you so much, Mr. Kaul, for inviting me on your platform.
My pleasure.
And it's really a wonderful platform because you are making an impact by calling the people, by showcasing what they are doing, how they are doing. So even I have been following your channel, so it's great. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
The world is going through a new you kind of a thing. Like, everyone is discovering their extremes. Everyone has been going through this challenging task and it's not been easy. Nevertheless, having said so, sometimes people just give up. There are a group of people who could not take further and they are like, there's nothing happening. They are getting depressed. As you said, some people are going through the other way, negative side, which is depression, feeling lonely, feeling helpless. In some of the countries, we even read people are committing suicides because of just being themselves. On the other side, seeing the positivity, it has opened a lot of doors. Whenever there's any challenge, whenever there's any physical or natural calamity, it does open other doors, which is how far you can accept the challenge and move on. And in that way, a lot of doors have opened, like, when we talk about conducting classes using completely online platforms, which was not really acceptable in the past. People would only do if they were having, difficulties in traveling or they were having some handicaps. Or it was always telecommuting was always related to women,
Right.
They're working from home because they are expecting a baby or they are on a leave. It was always considered in a negative way. But with this pandemic, it has been seen, quite clearly, anything and everything is possible if you take the plunge and bring it on. It's like,
I ask you that being an educationist and in the human resources field as well. So how do you see the education going from here now? Because
as I said, with the pandemic, people just went to the extremes to exploring how much they can take. It was not easy. Even as an educationist, I have been conducting my classes both virtually as well as face-to-face.
That's my point.
Exactly. But during pandemic, what happened was initially I had been conducting classes for people who were inviting me on their platform. So I had never ever used Zoom myself. Everything was already set up and I was coming, delivering the lecture. It's recorded, it's sent to the concerned people. But with this, most of the education institutions abroad as well as in India or developing countries, they went through this from scratch, how to start a Zoom, how to go about, how to share the screen, learning the basics, which was not done in the past by people in higher education because everything was already set. Everything was done by the assistants or the people who were maneuvering it. But we went through training. We went through a lot of training sessions. Discussing questions. We were on discussion forums with other instructors. So, it became like a small world. I was connected with people from New Zealand, from Australia, from India, from Gulf countries, discussing how they are doing, what they are doing, what are the pitfalls of following this platform? What are the strong points of following.
These learning human values via emotional intelligence in times of Corona, how to manage, and your quick thoughts, because you have been very vocal on this topic, and I have seen a lot of your webinars, both on the YouTube and on different forums.
Exactly. So I actually practice a lot of emotional intelligence during that phase. Not just teaching, like, sometimes people do walk the talk, and that's what exactly I'd been doing, both virtually as well as sitting in the vicinity of my room. Practicing emotional intelligence to teach that people who were getting frustrated, people who were getting stuck, we said we were just coming to rescue of each other and telling, like, it's just a phase, it's just a virus, the way it has come, it will go on, it will move on. So coming from India, I would say, like, I have a very, I believe in karma, right? And I'm also talking in terms of when we say human values, like, if you are constantly in the digital world, sometimes you just lose your concentration. You move so much towards the cyber thing that you don't know what is real and what is virtual. So via human values, where I did my TEDx talk, I talked about, like, we are superhumans. That was the theme of the topic of the TEDx talk, superhumans, where I said learning emotional intelligence via human values, like, if you believe in yourself, if you are constantly connecting people to test their best, that everyone has something unique. You can't be comparing an elephant with his climbing skills, testing or evaluating a fish by her flying skills, right? So we have to be realistic, what is the worth of a person and how they use it. In the classrooms, we have a lot of group activities, role playing, case analysis, things like which you normally do in a face-to-face class is much stronger. Whereas when you have these bunch of 20 students in front of the screen, sitting from morning till evening, it becomes too much. One, they are done with the screen time. Then you have headaches, problem in the eyes, backaches. But the thing is, as you said, without or with, the thing is, like, when it is a necessity, you have to look for ways how to make it interesting. If you just enforce something, you have to do,
How the young aspirants, especially the leaders, should prepare themselves for the post-pandemic era, how one can create opportunity for oneself given the current situation. So
okay, that's a very, very good question that you just asked. But just relating to what you were saying before, when there is lack of something, when we have limited resources, people start feeling it more important. People start giving it more value, That's what happened with most of my students, because before they were taking for granted, everyone is connected, sitting next to each other, but connected on Facebook or Instagram or other things.
Very, very important point made.
But with this, when they were in the vicinity of their room, sitting in front of the screens, they were like, I miss my friends. I miss the human connection. You'll be surprised to know that most of my students said, Professor, something, we really miss the actual classrooms. We really miss our friends sitting next to us and we bashing them or, hi-fi and things like that.
Right.
So pandemic, the question that you just asked, like a lot of people have already started looking for jobs, because most of the students, they lost jobs, they lost their internships. Jobs suddenly became like most of the work was being done virtually. So there was a big lag, a vacuum that was created. So now what we are doing is, as educators, we are telling students to connect more and more on professional networks, find good collaborations, try to see, with their alumni, get in touch with the alumni or with the networks to see how they can benefit, what they can do.